Hey guys, so amazing performance by Aleksei Olienik. I can't even pronounce his last name. Olinsky. Last night at the UFC 246. That guy is a stud and a beast, especially to finish that belly down armbar. It wasn't actually belly down; he was kind of on the side to finish that armbar as exhausted as he was last night. But I want to talk about the scarf hold position and what happened or what went wrong during the scarf hold position and why he was not able to finish, because he had plenty of time. He secured the scarf hold position with a little over a minute to go after a pretty grueling and pretty, a bunch of takedowns. The guy was getting up. Both of them were pretty exhausted. 4 minutes. A lot of work went into those 4 minutes. And so he should have been able to finish that scarf hold, but there were a couple things that I saw with his position and what he was doing that could have helped him actually get the tap from the scarf hold position, which it's a real choke. It's a chest compression. And the chest compression, what that does is it actually prevents someone from being able to expand their lungs to get air in. Very different than choking by cutting off blood flow or by pressure on the windpipe, which doesn't allow air to get into the lungs, which basically it's kind of like a choke, like a coughing type choke, or like where you have the experience that you're throwing up. So this is a chest compression. So Mark, can you lay down here please with your legs this way? Yeah, perfect. So scoot down a little thing. So one of the things that happened when he secured the scarf hold position, what you saw is he actually grabbed his arms together. So he was grabbing his hands, and I forget what grip he was either using, a grip like this or maybe grabbing his hands here, sometimes plucking like this to be able to lift the head. And so what happens is when you're securing the scarf like this, in order for me to put pressure and to basically pull up on the head, it really requires a lot of me being able to arch my back and pull with my arms and using my upper body. This can be very, very exhausting. Now, his opponent did a great job bumping, and the other thing that he was doing with his hand is he was kind of pushing his face and trying to get some space here and just kind of trying to annoy with his hand, okay? So, ideally, what would have been tremendously better for him is securing this hand to this leg, okay? Now, what that allows him to do, instead of having, because the main goal of this grip is to not let him pull his elbow down, which prevents him from getting to his side. So what happens is if I just have his head, if Lars is able to try to turn on your side, if he can get his elbow to the ground, he can kind of get to his side, right? And so the grip underneath the elbow is what helps to keep him flat, which allows me to put my weight on him and allows me to do the compression, okay? So instead of grabbing underneath and using my arms, what would have been better is bringing my thigh up. If I bring my thigh up and I hook the inside of my leg, this acts as basically a wall behind his arm. So if you try to pull your elbow down, now his elbow is stuck. So instead of using my arm, right, I'm using my leg to block his elbow from coming to the ground. Now the other thing that does is it frees up my arm so that I can actually start to attack his arm. And there's a lot of different attacks that I do from here. We have wrist locks, we have like a Kimura lock. If I push his arm in between my legs, we can go for like an Americano lock. There's a straight arm lock. So there's all kinds of submissions here. But I need this arm to be able to start to attack, okay? So by holding here, now it makes it very, very difficult to attack this arm, okay? I actually have to let go, right? And if my leg is not in place, if I let go of this arm to attack, it gives him the opportunity to turn on his side, pull his elbow down, and get out. The other thing that grabbing the inside of the leg does, one of the big things that you saw him really trying to do with the compression is pull his opponent's head up, pull and arch back. Well, if I don't have my leg, what that requires is arm strength. And you guys saw how exhausted and how tired his arms are. Joe Rogan mentioned a couple times that he had to keep shaking his arms out in between the rounds because his arms were fatigued and gassed, okay? So by grabbing the inside of my leg, what that allows me to do is it actually allows me to lift the head, which greatly increases the compression on the lungs, okay? It really, by basically pulling his head up, really restricts his ability to breathe. So how I do that is just by turning my knee and lifting my knee up. So it doesn't require any strength. All I'm doing is using my foot, and I'm turning my foot. Doesn't that feel harder to breathe, Lars? Right? So if he's able to bring his head back, that feels way more comfortable, right? If I start to turn my leg, and the cool thing about this is it doesn't require much strength. I'm just actually walking my heel, and what I've done is I've just planted my foot, so just the position of my leg now allows me to be able to maintain this position without using strength. All I've done is lifted my leg, and it's the ground that's supporting me. So a couple times what happened was you would see his opponent on the bottom bump and bridge, and you would see him kind of get tired. And these moments of being able to bump and bridge, and the person on the bottom being able to kind of find a moment of relief and to be able to breathe and relax, that's what really kept him alive for so long, kept him alive that last minute, and kept him from tapping. Because what happened was he would be able to expend energy, bump and rock and kind of destabilize a little bit, find a moment to be able to like catch a couple breaths, and then he would get squeezed again, and under pressure he would be able to just tough it out for those few seconds, and then he would, you know, do another big explosion. Well, with this type of pressure here, right, I can basically sit here all day without burning my arms, because it's basically the frames, the shape of my body that I'm doing. And what happens is if he does try to bump my foot, try to bump me, grab your hands and try to bump, I'm able to maintain this a lot better because my foot, instead of trying to pull up on the head, if you try to bump me right now, yes, you see how I don't have the same base available as putting my foot here. Okay, so if you bump me, it's a very different position. So, anyways, guys, that I think those adjustments would have been huge for him. That's one of my positions that I've really been putting a lot of time and energy into playing with the last couple of years. I just released a course a few months ago called the Soul Stealer course. So if you want details on that position, how to be able to finish from that position, by just holding that position, you're able to actually finish the position, and you can do it without using strength. The other cool thing about that position is there are a ton of different attacks and finishes available. Once you start to understand how to hold the position, how to control the position, there's all kinds of attacks that are available. And what's amazing is it's a very, very simple and easy position to get into. So last night you saw him transition actually from the mount. He had his arm under the head and the other arm, and he basically hopped off the mount and transitioned right into that, which normally I wouldn't recommend people to jump off the mount, but what he was doing is he was actually transitioning from the mount into a submission. So that was actually a good play on him. But I think if he would have made those few adjustments, it would have saved his arms from burning out. He would have been a lot less tired. He would have been able to maintain that chest compression for much, much longer without kind of giving his opponent those moments to relax and kind of recover. And I think he would have got the finish with those adjustments. So anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed that and hope it was helpful.